I'm going through this to see which approach I like better. It's a little idea I'm playing around with this morning. All right, let's see how that felt. Y'all like that? All right, let's see here. See some comments I'm missing. Christy, I didn't get what you wanted to convey there in the last video you posted. Is about a new series that you're doing to start. Which video? I'm not sure. I post so many videos. You gotta let me know which one you're talking about. If it was talking about using the major pentatonic, that was part of the series. It was part of the new series. But if it was just a video about learning to play, that was just in general. It wasn't like necessarily part of the series. All right, so let's see what we have here. What's up, Russell? All is well, man. What's going on, Cat? Portugal. What's up, Christoph? All is well, man. Asking those technical questions. When you're a solo and I hear you choose a degree to play with the chord changing. Yeah, I do and I don't. It's like I'm following the chords. You know, Christoph, I try not to think technically when I'm playing, but I'm literally just following the chords. You know, I'm just going with whatever the chords are doing. So it's like the chords are going. Back to one. So it's straight going down the scale. And then to that 4. And dominant. Back to 1. 2, 5, 1. So the stuff that I'm playing is based around that I'm basing everything I'm playing around that melody. And still dealing with, like I was talking about, if you guys checked out my last lesson on this past week, I was talking about using the major pentatonic, and I'm basically most of the stuff, not everything. Most of the stuff is based around that major pentatonic. To answer your question, Christoph, can't talk this morning, but yeah, it's based a lot around that major pentatonic. If anything, I could say if we're gonna get technical, most of the stuff is kind of based around that major pentatonic. Yeah, you could say that. Good morning, Pedro. See, let's jump back in here. All of that's pentatonic. Let's see what we got. Everybody feeling good this morning? Landing that third of the 505 really makes it pop. Your solo. Thank you. I really appreciate that, man. Morning, Bo. I'm all for the melody, and I'm trying to follow this. Like, you could build so much just listening simply to the melody. It's simple, but to me, I'm hearing like 1,000 things just off of that melody alone. And what I'm talking about, the melody with the chords. So again, it's what I do. Okay, so. I gotta remember that chord. So just. So I'm hearing all of that stuff over the melody. Yeah. Music for Jesus, I see you. All right, it's too much. Let me go back. I know I missed like 1,000 comments. All right, so let's go back here. And good morning to everybody that's jumping on, speaking this morning. So Cicello asks what EQ are you using? Your high end sounds really on it. So what's happened? The title of this thing today is try something different. So what I did, my high end sounds different today because most of y'all probably already picked it up. But I changed the way I strung my bass up today. I'm stringing like E, A, D, G, C. So basically stringing it up like a 6-string with the high C string on top and the E on bottom like a 4-string, 6-string, however you want to think of it. It's 5 string, but I don't have a the low B. That's the only difference in a 6 string right now. So yeah, I wanted to get that. I wanted to try it. I strung this bass up like this before years ago. Man, it's probably been 5 years since probably been more since I strung this bass up that way, where I put the high C on top. So yeah, I just wanted to try something a little different. I was hearing something a little more melodic in the higher register, and yeah, I'm currently in between 6 strings right now. So I said, well, you know what? Let me just try it. Let me fool around with it and let me put that high C string on top. So it's not really an EQ thing you're hearing. It's the whole tonality of the bass has changed because of how it's strung up. So let me turn this. I do have some effects on, but I'll turn those off so you can hear the bass clear. So this is straight bass, nothing added. So yeah, you're hearing the bass. So the chords are really, really clear. All right, so you know me, I like the chords, so that's part of the reason for that. I like to get in that high register, and I like playing chords. You can call it the guitar player side of me, or you can just call it the just like to play chords and being melodic side of me. All right, so that's what that is. Emma, good morning to you. Uh, Best wishes from London. London, UK is in the building. Roberto said that's perfect for a day on the beach. Yep. uh, Koala, Koala Bear says, hi peeps, what's going on? Tiffany said, whoa, you got me over here trying to make up lyrics. Love this groove. Appreciate that. Floppy says, love seeing how much you enjoy playing, sounding smooth. I appreciate that, man. So very inspirational, loving it. I appreciate that, Emma. I'm trying to get through all of the comments. I really need to work on going past the 12th fret and staying there for a while without getting lost one solo, and it's a struggle for me. Yeah, that 12th fret can be a doozy if you're not used to, if you're not used to getting up past that 12th fret. I actually did a lesson on talking about uh, going past the 12th fret. I don't remember what season. I think it was season 3 of Jermaine Morgan TV. If you want to go through my channel and check it out, I actually talk about that exact thing that you're talking about, going past the 12th fret. So literally look up that lesson, going past the 12th fret, something like that. Just type in past the 12th fret and you'll find something. Quest, good morning to you. Thank you. I appreciate that. He said got the bass in the chokehold. So yeah, Christoph gave y'all the chord progression, I guess there. Yeah, so good stuff. Roberto, oh well, end of lunch break again. Well, hopefully we'll catch you on the next one, Floppy. If you already gone, peace out to you. Who else? Vic Jackson. Good morning, Vic. He said the sun is shining in Kansas, and it's also going to be a great day. Absolutely, it's going to be a great day. Tiffany says stuck in traffic with this groove, but I still get to. Absolutely, absolutely. How in the world do you get so funky this early, Fred? I don't know, man. Sorry, I can't help it. LOL, see my last lyric. I got you. I got you, Tiffany. Koala Bear said, hey, Jay, you seem to be getting the hang of it now. Wow. I'm trying. How does that nut affect the alternate stringing? Do you swap? No, I didn't have to swap it or modify it with this particular one. It actually worked out pretty cool. I'm not getting any fret buzz or anything like that. The string is not moving. It's pretty stationary, so I didn't have to make. Surprisingly, I didn't have to make any alterations. I didn't have to make any alterations to the strings. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much, I'm good to go. I can't say that's the same for every bass. Now, if you try to change some of these basses, I don't know what you might get. So just be aware when if you decide to, hey, I want to experiment and I want to go up, and put a different set, like a 6-string set on my bass. just be aware that you might have to adjust your bass settings. Mine just happened to, I've done this before years ago again, but my settings just happen to work, and I'm just literally moving strings up. You know, I'm moving where I would have my A string, there's a D string. Where I would have my B string, there's an E string there. And so, like I said, I didn't have to adjust anything. I got pretty good everything. You know what I'm saying? I'm moving around pretty comfortable, and I didn't have to make any adjustments with my bass. I just put the strings on, cleaned it up, polished it up, call it a day. All right, so that's it for me as far as changing the strings, going up rather. I love the way you groove. Important things. I appreciate that. Hit the thumbs up, please. Absolutely, please hit the thumbs up. I appreciate that. So yeah, I wanted to jump on here this morning and jam out grooves and motivation. Do a little. Oh yeah. So yeah, to answer that really quick before I get too far in here, Roberto says strings, nickel or steel. I can show you exactly the strings I use. All right. So I use SIT Power Wound. And these are custom nickel strings, power wound nickel, plated steel. All right. And so I use custom gauges. These are not necessarily the standard gauges. I use custom gauges. My gauges, I normally on the top, I got weird gauges. They're not that weird, but I like my gauges that I use. Normally on the top string, my low B string, I use a 125. That's the gauge I use for the 125. My E string, the string that's on top right now is a 95. I got a 95 on top, and of course y'all know that's in accordance with the decibel. But yeah, I use a 95. I use an 80 for my D string. I use 60 for my G string. No, I'm tripping. So I'm sorry. I use 80 for my A string, 60 for my D string, and 40 for my G string. And then on my C string, that's normally on my 6-string bass, I use a 30. Those are the gauges I use. So 125, 95, 80, 60, 40. And if I do a 6-string, or like I got my bass strung up today, if I got the high C string, I normally do a 30. Those are my gauges that I've come to really like, and I'm really comfortable with. So yeah, so custom gauges, that's what I use. So I use SIT Power Wound. I've been using these strings, man, almost 10 years. I've been using SIT strings, probably close to 10 years now. So that's what I play. That's what I play. If you want to go on the website, check them out. You can find them there. I used to be on the website. I don't know if I'm still on there. I might be. You got to go and search. They might have took me off of there by now. I don't know. I used to be on there, so yeah, go and check out SIT. Let me look it up here. Let me just see, just in case some of y'all go, because they change. I say that because they changed the website up, and sometimes they take away artists, that kind of thing. So I don't know if I'm still on the website or not. But we'll check it out real quick and see. But it's sitstrings.com if you want to check out sitstrings.com. That's where I get my strings, or I think you can buy the strings. You can almost buy the strings anywhere. You can buy them online, like on Amazon, that kind of thing. Yeah, they've updated this artist list. Looks like I'm not on the updated, and it rotates. I don't know how they do that, but anyway, it is what it is. Yeah, so sitstrings.com. That's how you go and learn a little bit more about the strings. So yeah, I don't know if they rotate those. And that's neither here nor there. I don't know if they rotate those artists or whatever the case may be. But yeah, cool. So I wanted to get on here talking about trying something new. Of course, I'm referencing this instrument for one, but I'm also referencing life in general. If you've been around for a while, you've seen any of these videos, you know that my topics have a double meaning almost all of the time. Most of the time we talk about the instrument, we talk about playing this instrument, and we also talk about how that topic applies to life. No problem, Roberto. Yeah. So we try to talk about how that topic applies to life, trying something new. And I would go on a limb to say the reason why most people are bored, or maybe not thank you for that, Jordo. If I said your name wrong, please forgive me. But the reason why most people are bored is simply because they're not being risky enough, trying enough new stuff. And I could say you could be bored or uninspired, unmotivated, whatever the case may be, whatever your title is that is causing you to not pick up this instrument more. It's probably a lack of being creative. It's probably a lack of being creative. It's probably a lack of stretching yourself. When I say these things, hopefully you guys are mature enough that you don't take it personal. I'm just telling you what it is. I'm telling you the truth. Most of the time when that's the case is because I'm not dismissing life struggles. I'm not dismissing life in general, things happening with life that cause you to be like, uninterested in playing the bass. I get it. Life happens to everybody. And sometimes the bass is the last thing on your mind or the last thing on your plate. It's like, I get to it when I get to it. But when you really love it, when you really love a thing, when you really care about what it is you're doing, and it's not agenda driven, you find ways to keep it interesting. You find ways to keep it exciting. That can go for anything in life. When it's something that you say you really love, something you have made a commitment to, if you feel it starting to get boring, if you feel yourself starting to get away from it, you're going to do something to try to make sure that you refresh that commitment that you made, because you want to always remain fresh in whatever your commitment is, because everything gets old. You leave bread out too long, it'll get mold on it. I call it hair. It start growing hair on it. You don't want it. Nobody wants anything that's old and that's moldy and that smells. It's just old. Nobody wants that. So you have to figure out ways to refresh your commitment. If you guys are taking notes, I know some of you guys are driving, but if you just sit there laying in the bed or something like that, and you want to take notes and write something down, write down, refresh your commitments. Be sure to refresh your commitments, whether that's your commitment to playing this instrument, whether that's your commitment to relationships, whether that's your commitment to working out, that kind of thing. You can get in a habit of doing something so long that you become bored with it because you're not switching it up. I think that's the thing about working out. I don't have a personal trainer or anything like that, but what I try to do when I'm working out is I try to switch it up a bit so that I'm not doing the exact same thing every time, because of course, just that repetition of the same thing, you get good at doing that, whatever that thing is, but the downside of it, you can easily become bored. Even when it comes to your playing, if some of you guys, I'm putting in the practice, I'm putting in the time, I'm working, I'm doing everything I need to do. But if your practice and everything looks the same, always look the same, it's not going to be long before the boredom sets in. Especially if you're not seeing the results that you want to see. And we all know it's hard to see results, especially when you're looking in the mirror every day, figuratively speaking. When you're looking in the mirror every day, or when you're looking or you're listening to your sound every single day, it's hard to see results. It's hard to see that you've grown. It's hard to see it. Most people will be able, just think about it. If any of you guys have ever been on a weight loss journey or a weight gain journey, you're trying to gain some muscle or that kind of thing, most of the times, yeah, P90X, your practice sessions. Absolutely. So like most of the time when you're trying to do that thing, or you're doing P90X or whatever your diet is, and you're trying to gain or lose weight, most other people outside of you will notice it before you will. Majority of the time, other people will notice it because you're too close to the picture. You can't see it because you see it's every day. Matter of fact, case in point, this is it's related, but it's totally unrelated. So recently, I got, it's just me and my son. We are outnumbered by girls. It's my wife and two girls, and it's just me and my son. So my wife and I had a cat before my kids came into the picture. So our older cat is probably about 10 or 11 years old. But recently, within like the last 2.5 weeks, a little kitten showed up randomly. It was funny because my wife was talking about getting a younger kitten at some point, and randomly this little kitten showed up on our porch at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting here like, on our porch. Like our porch is like literally right beside our bedroom, so we can hear it. And I'm sitting here like, that's a cat. Like that's something. Like, but it wasn't the same neighborhood annoying cats to be at your window. It was like a baby. You could tell it was like a baby kitten. So I'm listening, and I woke my wife up. I said, it sounds like a little kitten is out there. And I looked out the window, and sure enough, right up under the swing, it was a kitten sitting right there under the swing. It was about like yay big. So we get out and we go through the whole thing of trying to catch the kitten. It took us like 2 days to catch it. We live in the country, so my wife felt like if she didn't rescue the little kitten, it was gonna be, it's gonna be eaten or worse, run out in the road and get uh, killed or something like that. So you can tell where we live at is like there's no way the mom or whoever is looking for that cat not to be on our property because we're too far away from anybody. So we don't even know where to start with looking for who the owner is. Seems like the cat may have been put out. That's neither here nor there. I digress. The point is where I'm going with this. When we compared the little cat in size, because of course our little cat, we call him Benji. He's been around for 10 years. We're used to seeing him. I mean, we were used to him when he got here. But looking at the other cat in comparison to Benji, I just realized after having that cat for 10 years, I'm like, man, Benji's huge. so I'm sitting here like, wait a minute. I'm looking at this little kitten that's like this right here, and then Benji is like that mini tiger. And I'm sitting here like, man, this cat is huge. And I didn't even realize how much the cat has grown because we've been with the cat looking at it every single day. It's kind of just like your kids. You have your kids, your baby that's like my baby is 3 years old and she's getting tall. But you don't notice how tall she's getting until somebody else points it out because you're too close, bringing it back home. You're too close to the picture. It's hard to see how much growth something has actually had. And looking at my cat over the last 10 years has gotten huge. But I couldn't see that because we see the cat every day. So if you're listening to yourself play, if you're looking at yourself work out every day, and you don't have anything or anybody to affirm or nothing to compare, and you hate to get in a comparison game of your playing, because if you're comparing it to people that are light years ahead of you, you'll never be close enough. If you're comparing yourself on your weight journey to Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, of course, you're never going to be there. But, in your mind, you're never going to be there. But you are making progress. If you compare yourself to an old picture of you from like 2008 and look at yourself now, it's like, I made some progress. Some of y'all that might be good progress, some of y'all that might be bad progress. But the point of the matter is, you've moved. It's not the same. Nothing is the same. Nothing stays the same. So how do we keep that growth fresh? By trying something different. Have to try something different. And I took something simple as, let me just change the string gauge, not change the string gauge, but let me just change the placement of these strings. Let me just go up. Where I normally put my B string, let me put my E string there. Just trying something. Just finding ways to stay creative, finding ways to keep yourself engaged, finding ways to keep yourself motivated in what it is you're trying to do, how it is you're wanting to grow. You have to figure out ways to stay motivated, to stay energized about it, because if you don't, it's all gonna die. It's all gonna go down. I've seen so many people start this journey as a musician and they give up halfway through it because a lack of motivation. And not only that, where there is no motivation, it's not long before intimidation sets in, or depression, or something like that. Something negative is going to take the place of that positive reinforcement that you have to do for yourself in order to keep going. So if you're not going up, you're going down. Yeah, it's rare that you're going to stay in the same spot, because just think about it. If you don't practice, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. You're not gonna say I'm staying the same. I'm probably no, because even when you were practicing and you were at a certain level, you were at least polished enough to keep that level consistent. But if you quit practicing, that level you were at, you start to go down. So either you're going up or you're going down. So you have to keep something that keeps you motivated, that keeps you consistent, that keeps you accountable to growth, because you want to grow, you want to improve, you want to get better. So you have to try something new. All right, so before I keep going too far into this, any comments, any questions, any thoughts on that subject? And also, If you already are kind of ahead of the curve, what are you doing new? It doesn't have to be music related, but what are you doing, if you don't mind sharing? What are you doing new to keep stuff fresh, to keep yourself motivated, to keep yourself interested? What are you doing new? Are you listening to different music? Are you trying to learn different songs? Are you transcribing stuff? What are you doing to keep yourself fresh? What are you doing new? What are you trying new? And while y'all are answering that question, one of the things I find not discouraging, but I find, how do I say this? I'm gonna use the word dismissive. It might be the wrong word, but that's all I got for now. When I see players on YouTube, or yeah, let's say YouTube, people that comment on my videos and not say stuff like, "Oh man, I appreciate it. This was helpful. That they this, that, and the other." But it's when people ask me to do stuff beyond what I have already done. Like if I did a video and I was very thorough in trying to explain and trying to break down the topic at hand, and then I get someone that comments and say, "Well, you should have done this, and if you had done this, if you had done that." To me, I think that's kind of dismissive, maybe the wrong word. Somebody may have a better word for me. But I think it's shifting responsibility. I will use that. You're shifting responsibility when you do that, because rather than push yourself to the max to figure out information that's been presented, you're putting it on somebody else to present it to you better, or present it to you in an easier way for you to understand. And I get it. I understand that everyone doesn't understand on the same level. I'm totally aware of that. But even with me and my teaching, I try to break down things to the basic level that even a beginner can understand what I'm saying. Even if they hadn't got to that point yet, at some point, maybe in the next month or so, you'll understand what I'm talking about once you get the basics under your hand. Because I don't really teach on a extreme advanced level. I can, but I try to keep things simple, because most advanced players aren't coming to me to try to learn how to play the bass, because they can already play. So I'm trying to keep things kind of within a beginner, intermediate, slightly advanced level, so that the average player who just needs that little boost, who needs a little help, can figure out some of the things that are not common to them. All right. And so when I see people that, can you do this, or next time can you show, and I don't have any problem adjusting. I want to be clear with what I'm saying. I don't have any problem adjusting some of the stuff that I teach, or making sure that people have an understanding. But there's a fine line you run between putting that blame on somebody else. Kind of like if you have a personal trainer and the trainer is giving you the exercises that you should do to get better, and you're not seeing the growth that you want to see, but that trainer has gave you a particular regimen to stick to. You're not necessarily following the regimen that trainer gave you, but yet you're coming back to the trainer and complaining each week that, hey, you should have taught me this, or you should have done this, or you should have done that. And it's like, at that point, unless you hurt yourself or injured yourself because the trainer didn't do his job correctly, some of that is your responsibility. A lot of that is your responsibility. A lot of that is your responsibility, because even in my case, I didn't really have like anybody to really teach me to, hey, this is how you play the bass. I didn't really have that. I had people along the way that taught me some things here and there, and I took those little things, nuggets that I got down through the years from this person and that person and this person. That I don't want to give you the illusion that I figured everything out on my own. No, there were people that helped me along the way. But even in that, it wasn't a formal lesson. It was kind of like in passing. Hey man, you should do this, or you should try to play over your pickups, or try adjusting, try panning to your front pickup, or try panning to the mid or something. You know what I'm saying? Pull some of the mids out of your bass. Clean up your EQ settings in your amp. And it was something simple that they gave me, and it was up to me to try to go back and remember what they said, and do the necessary studying, and do the necessary trial and error to try to figure out what is it that they're talking about, because I want to make sure that next time they hear me, they don't hear the same thing from me. You know what I'm saying? So it's not on me to put that responsibility on them to make sure I got it. No, it's, if they gave me the information, it's my responsibility to make sure that I got what they said. It's my responsibility. Now, if it's something I just straight out forgot, I can hit them back up and, hey, what was that you said I needed to work on? Yeah, you need to pull some of the lows out of your base. Oh, okay, got you. Thank you. Appreciate it. And we move on. But nowadays, even with the YouTube world and the lessons, I find more and more players who are trying to make the teachers responsible for your learning. And that's not how it goes. The people that you're looking up to, that's not how they got there. They didn't get there by making the teacher responsible for them keeping their growth fresh. No, you got to dig for it. You got to dig for you got to dig for the revelation or for the information that you want. You have to actively be seeking it, and as you seek it, you will find the answers that you're looking for. All right. So what's up, Rodney? I don't know which Rodney that is. I know a lot of Rodney Jones is a bass player. Tiffany says, thanks for doing that. It helps to keep the beginners in a positive mindset. Absolutely. So when you're doing that, you really have to be mindful, especially the people that that get on these videos. I know it's not of y'all, but some of the people that come on my videos and leave comments concerning the way that information was presented. Try having, and this ain't even just about me, just in general, try having an attitude of gratitude. You know what I'm saying? And that's over everything. That in itself keeps you being fresh, keeps your mind like looking for opportunities, looking for answers, searching for solutions, just by being grateful for what it is that you have. You know what I'm saying? Because no one has to get on YouTube and give you anything for free. It is not required by anybody. Nobody, Scotch Bass Lessons, Jermaine Morgan, Derek Bennett, Travis Dykes, any of these bass players that you may watch, nobody is required to get online and share anything. We don't have to do it. You know what I'm saying? No one has to do that. And I think because information is so readily available for everybody, there's this sense that after a person does something for a while, you start to expect it. You start to expect it rather than appreciate what someone is doing. Let me read this comment, and I got another little I go back to the previous video lessons I struggled with and work through them repeatedly, and I realize I am able to learn it easier, can put my own little stank on it, play it cleaner and faster. Absolutely, because you go back, you actually try. I love that explanation. Love the true awesome. It's a call for food for the soul. Absolutely. Oscar says, good morning, JM. Hope you and the family are good. Thank you for talking about this subject. Absolutely. I'm the first time listening to you. Thank you, Rodney, for tuning in. I really appreciate that. So the thing I was going to say, I've been opening my car door for my wife since we've been dating. We've been together almost 20 years. Like, we ain't been married 20 years, but coming up on 13 years of marriage, and we've been together for almost, next year would be 20 years that we've been together as a couple. And I've been opening her car door for her. Now, granted, I don't do it every single time. And so because I don't do it every single time, sometimes I have to remind her, hey, what are you grabbing the door for? It's our little joke that we have sometimes. But every now and again, she'll stop at the door and she'll wait for me to come and open it. But it's not a thing of, you better come open my door. It's not that. It's like I open her door for her, and even though I've been doing it for almost 20 years, she still says thank you. She still says thank you, even though I've been doing it for her for almost 20 years. It would be easy to let me come over there and open the door and just get in the car and shut the door. All right. And I get in my side and we just go on about our business and never pay any attention to it. But her gratitude for what it is I do makes me more likely to do it again. Just by you showing gratitude, by you showing like appreciation for what it is I just done for you, it makes me more apt to see, okay, what more can I do? All right, as the giver in that situation. And I think when we can start practicing that one to another and giving people, their due gratitude, like giving people thanks, giving people appreciation for what they do, that in itself, it keeps you fresh. It keeps, and talking about the relationship, it keeps relationships fresh when you can show gratitude for what it is someone does. Because you have to remember, most of us naturally can be selfish. Like, we all can be selfish. Me, my four, and no more. Like that can be the mentality of all of us. Me, myself, and me, myself, and Irene. You know what I'm saying? We can just naturally be selfish if we really, really wanted to. Thank you for what you do. Absolutely, man. Thank you for saying that. Floyd, good morning to you, man. It's all good, Floyd. You missed out on a lot, but I ain't gonna hold it against you. You can go back and watch it in the replay. So what am I doing? Trying to learn piano, learning different bass style songs, watching you on Tuesday morning. Absolutely. And there you go, Ramirez, if I'm saying that correctly. I always say if I'm saying it correctly because I try not to butcher people's names. I do from time to time. But you have to do stuff to keep it interesting. I had somebody to make a comment on one of my videos a few days ago, and it was like, I'm stuck, and you might be watching, I don't remember the name. It's like, I'm stuck because I'm trying to choose between guitar and bass. I don't know which one to go with. And somebody made the comment that, hey, take my word from it, from a professional. I started playing, well, I guess they was telling them to learn the bass first and then switch to guitar, vice versa. Learn one at a time and then go to the other one from experience. And what I was basically telling, I'm not disagreeing, that's that person's opinion, and they're entitled to their own opinion. But what I was telling the person, what I responded with was like, well, I play both of them professionally. But my mindset when I learned all these instruments, because I started learning multiple instruments around the same time. And my mindset when I was learning these instruments wasn't, oh man, I'm playing the bass, now I gotta learn the guitar. Or I'm playing the guitar, now I gotta learn the piano. Or I'm playing the piano, now I gotta figure out how to play the drums. From the standpoint of a person who's done this professionally, just take my little 2 cents. But from the standpoint of a person who's done this professionally now for years, and I play multiple instruments. I didn't say I play all of them good. So you gotta have a main thing. I will put that disclaimer out there. Now there are people who play multiple instruments and they are good on all instruments. And by some people's definition, I might be good on all instruments, depending on who's saying it. But for me personally, as a professional, I only claim 2 instruments professionally. I claim guitar and I claim bass, but I play multiple instruments. I can play piano, keyboards rather, and I can play drums, and I play guitar and bass, and I sing. But when I was doing that, I started out singing, obviously. The voice was the first instrument I had. I started out singing, and the next thing that I started playing was the drums. But when I started moving to the other instruments, it wasn't out of I gotta learn how to play this instrument. It was simply a curiosity. As a child, I was curious. I was like 12 years old. My brother was playing. At first, I had no interest in the bass at all. I could care less. Like, my brother was playing the bass. I was playing the guitar. Guitar took my highest level of interest. I was like very, very interested in guitar. So I started playing guitar after drums. Actually, I started playing drums and I started playing harmonica. Random. I know it's completely random. I started playing harmonica. Just no, I don't play harmonica anymore, and I probably suck at it. I was never good, but I was playing harmonica, and that was my little thing. I was everything was dominant on harmonica. Breathe in, breathe out. That's what I was doing. So I started playing the drums. I was playing harmonica around the same time I started learning guitar. I was also in the band. I was in 6th grade. I started playing tuba. So I was learning tuba. I was learning guitar, learning drums, all of those instruments at the same time. And so probably by the time, I was learning keyboard, dabbling around on keys. My mom played the keyboard. My uncle played guitar. My brother played drums and he played bass. So all of those instruments and all those influences, I was just curious to figure it out. And that's how I started learning. But roughly around the same time, I was learning all of the instruments. The bass was like the last thing that I kind of really picked up and started taking serious. My interest for the bass didn't kick in until around like 15. I had dabbled on the bass a little bit, but a real interest for the bass did not kick in until I was around 15. And so from that point on, I didn't even like fully dive into learning bass. I was still going back and forth. keyboards, guitar, drums, because I play keyboards for my church. I know it sounds like I'm rambling, but I'm going somewhere. I play keyboards for my church, and that's what I played every week. So out of all the instruments I was playing the keyboard the most. But I still played those other instruments. But I still had to learn all the songs on keyboards. I still had to know the drum part to teach my drummer at my home church so that he could get better over the years, And the bass was kind of in the background. Every now and again, I would pick up the bass. But my point in all of this, I was learning all of these instruments at the same time. But it was never out of man, I got to learn how to play the bass. Man, I have to learn how to play the guitar. Now I got to learn how to play keys. I think nowadays, and the older you get, especially if you start this musical journey late, or what people consider late, there's really no wrong time to start it. Of course, you start it younger, the better. But when you start the musical journey, it's just when you start the musical journey. You don't have to be isolated to one instrument when you start learning. Learning music is just learning music. You just have to, the music is the music. Figuring out what your voice is and how to let me say it this way. The music is in you. Not trying to get too deep and spooky, but the music is inside of you. The means by which you get that music out that's determined by whatever instrument you pick up. I think if we could figure that out as musicians, we would be a lot better, and we would enjoy what we do a lot more. The music, let me say it again, I'll say it slow. The music is inside of you. As a musician, the music is inside of you. The means by which you get that music out is determined by the instrument that you play. How well you get that music out is determined by how much you practice on that instrument. Somebody need to write that down so I remember I said that. So how well you get that musical interpretation, whatever it is. There are people who are great bass players, but they've never picked up a bass. I'll explain. There are people that I've met. It's a new student. I can't even remember his name. I'm sorry. But there's a new student that I'm doing coaching calls with. And he's only been playing the bass for about a year. And when I heard him play, I was like, yo, you've been playing a year? He's like, yeah. I was like, dude, you get it. Like, you get it. I said, the stuff that you're playing, your feel, your timing, and he's up in age. Like, he's older than me. I'm assuming he's older than me. He's at least my age. Mid-30s, we'll say that. So he's mid-30s, but he's picking them up, putting them down on the bass, and he sounds great. And he's only been playing for like a year. Granted, he has some growing to do, but what he did, he played for me. I think it's Charles. Charles, if you're watching this, I'm talking about you. So he played for me one of his favorite songs. And when he played that song, obviously this is one of his favorite songs. I mean, he nailed it. He nailed the feel, the stuff that he was going for, the little ad-libs. It's just some little minor stuff that he has to work to add to the bass line to become a little bit better. But my point in mentioning him, he's always been a bass player. Granted, he said he played another instrument like violin or something like that years back, but he never really played the bass. But he always wanted to be a bass player. And I asked him, I said, that's how I found out that he played other instruments. I said, so what else do you play? Like, classically trained, I played violin. But when it came to bass, there wasn't nothing classical about that. It was just straight, he was playing some feel-good stuff. And I'm like, so how do you have that reference point? He said, when I would listen to music, I would always sing the bass line. He said, me and my wife, we have to ride in different cars because she's singing the song and the melody, and I'm singing the bass line so loud, it's annoying to her. So he said, when I hear songs, I naturally hear the bass line, and I sing the bass line. It goes back to my point that I was saying earlier. The music, or the bass player side of him, it was always in him. He was already singing it. So what he figured out how to do early that most people don't, he figured out how to take what was in his head, which was the bass line, and apply it to his hands. Now, the means of that bass line that he's been singing the whole time is now coming out through an actual bass that's making him a better bass player. He was a bass player the whole time. He just never had a bass in his hand. So what instrument do you play? What other instruments do you play well that you've been too afraid to pick up? Back on the subject of trying something new, what other instruments do you play well, but you've been afraid to pick up? because it's like, okay, I'm learning bass now. Once I get this down, newsflash, you're never gonna get it down. I'm sorry. I hate to be the bearer of bad news for you. I've been at this for a while. I've worked professionally. I've done a lot of stuff, and I still don't feel like I have this down. So getting it down is a feeling. That's what I mean by that. I'm not saying that you're never gonna learn. What I'm saying is getting it down once I get it under my belt. All of that stuff is a feeling. I don't feel like I have the bass under my belt. I know I can play, and I know there's stuff that I can do. I feel comfortable, confident doing some stuff, but there are other things that I wish I could do, and other things that keep me practicing and keep me pushing and keep me trying to grow on this instrument. Some people will say I'm pretty good on guitar, but I see my guitar playing and I see, oh man, I got so much farther to go. But if I stop at, I got so much farther to go, and I don't try anything else, I stifle my own growth. But what I found when I got, and I said this many times before, when I got serious about my bass playing, my guitar playing got better. When I started getting a little bit more serious about my keyboard playing, my understanding of the bass got better, because I started listening to one of my music directors. This was in my 20s. I started listening to my music director, and I was listening to the way that he navigated the bass line in his left hand when he was playing the keys, and I'm like, I never thought about it that way. So each one of these instruments opened up my thinking. I have several great drummer friends, but one in particular, the way that he plays, he makes me think different about rhythm, about playing. All of my drummer friends, the way that they approach the drums, they make me think about rhythm in a different way. David Haynes was one of the guys, finger drums. He really made me start looking at rhythm differently. So each one of these things, hearing it, these instruments in my head, the music that was in my head, being able to apply that to whatever instrument I decide. You don't have to play multiple instruments, but if you do, it's a plus to you. It's going to be hard work. I'm not taking that away from it. You're definitely going to have hard work, but it's going to be worth the effort. It's going to be worth the energy, because all you're doing is adding to your vocabulary. You have a deeper and a better understanding of each instrument when you can know what the guitar part is supposed to sound like, and even if you just mimic it from your instrument, like being able to know that I'm like if I know that that's what I want my guitar part to sound like, well, it helps my bass playing, because it sets up what type of groove I want to do. What do I want to feel like? What I want the groove to feel like on top of that type of guitar part? What do I want the drum rhythm to feel like on it? And so once I start thinking about all these different things, a lot of these technical questions that I have, they go away. And I'm not so busy dissecting everything that I'm playing and trying to make it so theoretical. Nothing wrong with that. But for me, the music is less about, and I might offend some people when I say this. For me personally, Jermaine Morgan, individual, nobody else is co-signing this, but for me, the music is more so about the feel, the emotion, the passion, than it is the theory. I don't think about theory unless I'm trying to practice and I'm trying to learn something theory-based. But when I'm playing, I am thinking about the music. And the more I think about theory, the more I mess up personally. Everybody is different. It doesn't make you any less. It doesn't make me any better if you think different. But the way I personally process, if I, just by the way I learn, I didn't learn by the book. I didn't learn by the theory. I learned by ear. I learned by feel. I learned by environment. I learned by watching people. I learned by experiences. All of that stuff goes into the music for me. So certain things hit me a certain way when people play it. It hits me a different kind of way. So, you know what I'm saying? So that's the way I process. So I don't think about theory. So most of the time when you guys ask me like theoretical questions on here, I have to pause and I have to think about it. And sometimes initially I might stumble trying to come up with an answer because I wasn't thinking about theory. Theory is like the last thing on my mind when I'm playing. I'm like, okay, we'll go after I finish. I'll go back and I'll try to dissect what it is I did. But while I'm playing, I ain't thinking about none of that. I'm not thinking about none of that. I'm like the old grandma that just knows how to go in the kitchen and she know how to get down. You ask her what's the recipe, she can't tell you the recipe. She don't know. All she knows, she know how to get in that kitchen. And when you eat that apple pie, you almost bite your finger off because she knows how to make the apple pie. She just knows it. She just knows what to do. And she probably learned that from watching her mom or her grandma. Somebody showed her, you take a pinch of this, and then you take a little cup full of milk, and then you take 2 cups of apples or whatever. And they wasn't necessarily telling you what they were doing. And watch what I'm doing now. You see, and they put the apples in the cup, they dump the apples in there, and they swish it around and all this kind of stuff. They didn't tell you how much to add. You just watched. You just knew, okay, they did this, now they did that. It's like my son. My son is watching me. Don't tell nobody this. My son is like 6 years old, and we have a 0-turn lawnmower. He's on there with me. I ride him around on it sometimes, and he's figured out how to drive it. My son didn't get any formal lessons from me. What happened is he's rode with me so many times on the lawnmower, and I keep him safe. So he's rode, and I see y'all's comments, and I'm gonna respond back to him. Y'all know how it goes. He's ridden the correct English. He's ridden with me so many times that he just feel what I'm doing with my body. He's watching what I'm doing with my hands. He's feeling the motions. As a matter of fact, he had his hands on the handlebars most of the time when he's riding with me. So he feels the motion of what I'm doing. So now he wants to get on there with me and he wants to drive. And guess what? When I take my hands off of the handlebars or when I move my hands out of the way and let him drive, he knows exactly what to do. Is he perfect at it? No. But he knows exactly what to do. I didn't tell him, hey, Jonathan, when you want to go forward, do this. When you want to go backwards, do this. When you want to go to the left, do this. When you want to go to the right, do that. I didn't have to tell him any of that, but because he had been paying attention and he had been watching and he had been in that environment and just using all of his senses, he didn't need a handbook. He didn't need the rules. He just knew. Now, there are some things at some point I got to give him rules because he's 6. Granted, his maturity level is not high enough to know the do's and don'ts of some scenarios. Okay, if there's a pothole over here, you shouldn't do X, Y, Z. So some of those things, he might need some rules in order to create some boundaries for him so that he knows how far he can or can't go. But if we're just on open grass, he know, oh, okay, just follow the line, and I do this and I do that if I want to go backwards. He hadn't got all of it down packed, but for just the basic thing of, Daddy, I want to drive. He didn't say, I want to cut the yard like you do it and I want to mow the whole yard. He didn't say that. He said, I want to drive. So the basic thing of just learning how to drive the lawnmower, he figured it out on his own, just simply by observation. And when it relates to music, by simply listening, putting your hands on it. Let me try this motion. But the problem happens is once we figure that out, okay, that's cool. And when you first pick up an instrument and you figure out that initial thing, it's like, man, you on fire like you, man. I gotta do this and I gotta learn. It's like you're not necessarily thinking about all the rules. You just enjoying for the first month or two when you learn that first thing, depending on how you started learning. When you learn that first thing, you're just happy to be jamming, and you'll just jam out on that one thing you know. But what happens is somewhere along the line, somebody teach you the rules. They teach you the rules. Now you feel like I got to do this and I got to do that. Or you start watching somebody else. Nobody teaches you the rules. Or you look at a bass lesson and you see this person, you see that person, and they tell you you have to do X, Y, and Z. So now these rules all come in play, and then the interest for what you initially started to do, it goes away. Because if I tell my son all these rules at this point, he's just interested in riding the lawnmower. But if I start telling him all of these rules, well, you got to do this and you got to do that, and then you got to make sure you do this. At that point, he's going to be like, I'm good. I just wanted to drive, so don't worry about it. We good. I'll do something else. I go ride my bike. Let me off, because I ain't trying to do all. I just wanted to drive. And I think what happens with music, we're so busy giving people the rules because we're trying to make them into professional musicians, and all they wanted to do was just drive. They just wanted to play. They never asked to be a professional. They never ask to be this and be that. If they want to do that, they'll get higher learning or they'll get some type of formal training to make themselves better. But we can't force the rules down people's throats. And sorry to go on that whole rant about that, y'all. But hopefully that made some sense to somebody and giving some clarity to maybe why you're bored with what it is you're trying to do. Maybe why you're not interested in that kind of thing. All right. And just real quick before I respond to all of these comments, I am not against music theory, y'all. Hopefully that didn't come across as if, man, Jermaine is anti-theory. I'm not anti-theory. I hate when people put the rules in front of the music. That's my thing. I hate when people. There's one thing to understand why you're doing what you're doing, but don't let your why of why you're trying to do what you do get in the way of why you wanted to do this. Like, don't let those two whys like bump heads, because you'll just stop. You'll be so busy learning all of the rules that you won't be playing. I know people who know a whole bunch, and I say this all the time because it's true. I'm actually, it's funny. I get people who don't know me have jumped on my videos when I'm just having a good time. I post something and I might just be soloing or something like that, and people jump on there and tell me about what being a bass player is and what this and that is. And if I was messy or some other kind of way, I would come back, but I'm not that guy. I don't do that. But I'm sitting here like, okay, you don't know me, and you don't know that I've built a successful career as a musician, a working musician. And I have over 12 years of consistency on one job, a high profile job as a musician, but we don't talk about that. And so when people share their opinions based on what you're doing when you're just being creative, it's not a smart move, because you don't know. I don't even know who's watching this. I might have some show enough bass player or really, really accomplished musician. Just because nobody knows your name doesn't mean you're not accomplished. So we have to be careful when we be running that, when we be flapping those gums. We have to be really, really careful, because sometimes you don't know people's experience level. You don't know who you're talking to. You just don't know. So this is for my people who like to leave negative comments. And I know it's not none of y'all. So if you're one of those people that you always have to share everything you know in terms of try to get people straight, don't do that. Just calm it down, because oftentimes what you see on social media is what people allow you to see. And for most of my career, I've made a point of not showing everything that I have done in my career. I don't make it a point to publicize every single accomplishment in my career, because I didn't want my personal music career to be built on the back of who I've played with. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want that to be the reason why people follow me. I didn't want the people and the artists and stuff that I've worked with or my accomplishments to be the reason why people decided to follow me and all of this kind of stuff, because I don't want that. I'd rather, if you're going to follow me, you follow me because of me and because of the value that I add to you individually, or if it's entertainment, the entertainment I provide to you individually, not because of who you think I am and what you think I've done, but who I am as a person. And I think if we can keep that value in the right place, because right now, with all musicians around the world, what does it matter? Who does it matter that you play for? Not taking it away from what you've accomplished in your career, but what does it matter who you played for? What does it matter what stages you've been on at this point? Nobody's on no bad English. Nobody is on no stages right now. Ain't nobody playing nowhere. So who you played for, who you supposed to be, all of your accolades mean absolutely nothing right now, because at the core, we are all the same. We are all the same when you strip away all of that stuff. And I think if we can maintain that humility that I'm no better than anybody else, I do have something of value. And don't get that twisted. I do have something of value to add, maybe to this person. I do have something of value that I could create a business or something like that with. But that doesn't mean I am better than you. That just means in this area, I worked a little bit harder, or I worked and I've accomplished something that allows me to be able to share something of value to you. But that doesn't mean that I'm better than you. You see what I'm saying? All right, let's read some of these comments. Read some of the comments. Okay. Hopefully I didn't kick it offline by trying to read these comments. Oh, I done missed all kind of stuff. All right. So Robert McGibbon, if you're still on here, it says, I'm still learning new techniques on bass. Good stuff. Roberto says, you are so right. It's the law of intentionality. Absolutely. I know it was like an hour ago probably when you said when you said that. What strings is the best for my 6-string bass? That's I can't tell you that because that's totally on, if you're still here, that's totally on you. That's your personal opinion about what strings feel the best. What you have to do is you have to go and try out some 6-string basses and see what feels comfortable for you. You know what I'm saying? The strings that I showed earlier, that's the strings that I use. Those are my personal gauges that I use, but those gauges might not work for everybody. It might be too light of a gauge for some people. It's like a really light gauge to use. 30, 40, 60, 80, 95, and 125 might be light gauge for some people. But for me, I like it. So you would have to go up and go to some music stores and play and see what feels most comfortable for your hands. That's the best way I can answer that. The strings I use, again, are SIT strings, but people have their own preferences, you know. So I can't tell you what's going to be the best for you. Sorry on that one. Tiffany says, tuba, they have the best parts in the marching bands. Part of my bass fun now is playing tuba parts. My favorite stands. Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. The tuba, we had some cool parts, yeah, in the marching band. I always kind of look to the other instruments. I like the bass parts with the tuba, but I think I always like with the trumpets and stuff like that we're doing back in the day when I was in my little marching band days. But hey, let's go back. That's completely true, very true. I was talking to Danny Moe and Anthony Vitti about this. They say the same. Don't play your theory, play your heart. Absolutely. Andrew Wood, good morning, Jermaine. I'm so late. I hope you're well. All good, Andrew. Good to have you here, man, if you're still here. Joshua says, if you can give some advice at all around what to do in a situation where bass by ear is needed at church, we never have time to practice. So on the deep end. Okay, I got you. So what I would suggest, who is that? That was Anthony. No, Joshua, sorry. So Joshua, what I would suggest, if you're still watching, learn a lot of songs, random songs. The only way, your ear is a muscle. It might not be, you know what I'm saying. It might not be a literal muscle. It probably is, probably ain't. Who cares? The point of what I'm saying, it's all like a muscle. The more you work that muscle, the more you grow. And the better you grow in that area, the better or the faster you can respond. So if you start working on learning a lot of songs, if you're playing in church, learn a lot of gospel songs. Learn the dialect of church. All right? If you learn the dialect of church, what I mean by that, if y'all playing a lot of CCM songs or a lot of gospel songs or both, you need to make it your business to just sit down and start learning as many gospel and CCM songs as you can. And what you do with that, you start learning the dialect of that music. What I mean by that, there are certain things and certain ways certain things are said in music, and you start like, we have a song, Emmanuel, that we play, we used to play at church rather, so I'm in the wrong key, that's neither here nor there. But like, it's, we do Emmanuel. This is what I mean by dialect. Like in church, that's a dialect because in most cultures, if the song is going from Emmanuel, Emmanuel, they're going from 1 to 7 to 6. That's the progression. Like if you're asking somebody, okay, give me the numbers for this song, they'll probably be like 1. We're going to the 6. And you just go straight to the 6. But understanding that church dialect, understanding that type of song, you'll know that okay, they're gonna pass on that. They're gonna pass on that flat 5 to 7 to 3, then to the 6. They don't go straight to the 6 or. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know if that broke up, but you see what I'm saying? It's you pass on that flat 5. Like even that stuff, figuring out how to navigate around the groove and figuring out what's acceptable, what works in that context. And the only way that you do that is by learning lots and lots of songs and transcribing what those bass players are doing. By transcribing, not just learning songs, flying through them, okay, they're just going 1, 6, 5. No, understand what they're doing and the way that they're doing what they're doing. Because if you don't, it'll be like those old movies. You ever see those old movies when they try to talk like people from a certain place or a certain area and they're not really from that place, and they just learn enough of that dialect to be able to do the movie, and you're like, man, we don't sound like that. Or when they're trying to talk like people from the South, and if you're from the South and you hear them talking, it's like, we don't talk like that. And it's that kind of thing. When you kind of learn it and you kind of play it how they play it, you kind of know the dialect and it doesn't come across as natural. But the more you practice and the more you immerse yourself in whatever that is, whatever that culture is, now when you start playing that music, it sounds authentic to that culture. So the other thing that it does, because you've been working that muscle, now when they fly off and they call out songs you don't know, you can grab those songs quicker, because most of those songs fall within a certain dialect. It falls within a certain structure. Even if you don't know the song, they're calling out chord changes to you, and they're calling out like numbers or whatever the case, but whatever you guys use, they're calling out the numbers to you. You know, okay, in this type of groove, most likely they're going to do this kind of move to get to where they're going. So I know to do this. Even if they don't do it, I can suggest it here, especially being a bass player. I could suggest what they're going to do. And that's just being familiar with the culture of what it is you're doing, where it is you're playing, understanding how they approach the music. Just repetition of listening to it, learning it, making a habit out of it. So now when I get called into these environments, or when I find myself in this environment, I don't freak out because I've done this before. I prepared this kind of stuff before. So another day at the park for me. All right, we're doing this song. I don't know it. Just give me the numbers. I got you. That's my mentality, especially when I go in a situation I don't know the stuff. Now, on the other hand, there are times it's uncomfortable because I'm playing around musicians I don't know, and I don't know the culture of that band there. But if we all know the same language, even if I don't know you all's culture, I'm not going to be completely lost. I might be uncomfortable, but I won't be lost. Now, it's a whole other thing to be lost and uncomfortable because you have no clue. Then you're going down in flames. Nobody wants to go down in flames. So just be mindful of the culture of where you're going. Yeah, be familiar with the culture. You know what I'm saying? So just be really aware of what's going on and what's happening. So that's my answer for that. Hopefully that kind of shines some light on that for you. How I feel like I play the same ways. I'm even bored of my playing myself. How do I play different from how I'm playing and sound different? Please help. So, I mean, hopefully all of the stuff that I was saying just now answered your question. You can apply that same thing I just said to that. You need to learn some different music. You need to immerse yourself in some other stuff. If you're bored with how you sound, that probably means you're not being creative enough. You're not trying anything new, more than likely. You're doing the same thing over and over again. And what's the saying? You're doing the same thing over and over again. You're going to always have the same result. So if you want some type of different result, you have to do something You have to do something different. All right. So let's move on. I gotta jump off of here, guys. Yeah, my kids just started school, so I can run through a few more questions, and I gotta run. Um, that's right. All right. Joshua's at 100. Oh my God, Jermaine, you got to stop blessing me like this. This stuff is so good, bro. Thank you, Andrew. Um, Al says, bro, I have been playing for 46 years. I have played on a lot of projects, a lot of concerts, a lot of quartet programs, a lot of church services toward the county in 2018, and nobody knows who I am. But Al, you know what I'm saying? You said you toured the country. I see what you're saying. You toured the country and did all of this stuff. Yeah, don't let people define your success. You know what you've done. You know what you've accomplished. But that doesn't mean we have to walk around arrogant either because of what we've done. It doesn't matter. Like social media has made that, it has made people instantly famous, and that's a good and a bad thing. The bad thing is sometimes people can walk around with this sense of entitlement, like somebody owes them something because a lot of people know who you are. It's like that doesn't mean anything. A lot of people know who Jeffrey Dahmer is, but I don't think nobody's going around singing his praises. Being famous means nothing. It just means a lot of people know who you are. But you know what you've accomplished on your own, and never let anybody rob you of what you know you worked and what you've work to earn and the success that you've had on your own, whether it be in public or whether it be in private. The biggest thing that matters is your character in all of it. You know what I'm saying? Your character is the biggest thing that's going to stand at the end of the day, because a lot of people could know who you are and a lot of people could not like you because they know who you really are. It's like, yeah, this dude is super arrogant, man. Like he's done a lot of stuff. He's a heck of a bass player, but I don't like him because he's arrogant. You know what I'm saying? So you have to just be careful. And for everybody got to run, all good. I got to go too. So I'm gonna run through a few more of these comments, and I got to jump off. Um, so our job is to put God first before anything we do. There you go, Robert. Uh, be familiar with the culture. Great advice for the busy church musician and anyone else who have very little time to share it alone. Yeah, Calvin. You got to be well-rounded on different styles. Absolutely. I'm late, but good morning, sir. Dimitri, good morning to you. Koala Bear, no problem. Rodney, all is well, man. Roberto, who is that? Robert says, thank you so much, man. God bless you always. Joshua, absolutely. Thank y'all, man. Look, if you want to, before I jump off of here, if you want to support, I know some people be wanting to support this channel. You haven't bought anything on my website. For one, I got courses and everything available on my website to help you guys that are trying to grow. I do have coaching calls, one-on-one coaching sessions, and those are getting more and more limited the more people that fill up. So yeah, you might want to get in if you're gonna get in on those one-on-one coaching calls. I offer those on the monthly membership exclusive. That's my monthly membership lessons, and also one coaching call per month with me, one-on-one, where we're doing a Skype call. And the members plus exclusive on my website is where this members plus exclusive. This is where you get all the courses that are on my website plus one call with me. You get access to all the courses on my website and one call with me a month as well. If you want to be a part of that stuff, that's on JermaineMorgan.net. Yeah, Al, absolutely. So if you need that one-on-one help, you need that one-on-one time to talk, and some of you guys don't like to share in these, public conversations, and that's totally cool. If you want that one-on-one time, you want some advice on your playing, on your career, on pretty much, I've covered stuff from marriage to everything in those one-on-one calls. And I think the coolest thing about that is I'm able to build a relationship with the musicians there, and we're able to just kind of talk. Sometimes you just need somebody to just kind of talk and give you some, the right information to keep moving forward. So if you're interested in any of that, you can find that on JermaineMorgan.net. And if you just exclusively want the coaching calls from week to week, that's also a tab that says coaching calls, get coached by Jermaine Morgan. You can find all that information on my website as well. Last thing I want to mention, y'all see this shirt I got on? It says KOG, Kingdom of God. This particular design is an old design, but this brand, we have all kind of stuff on my store. If you click under this video, you should be able to go to my store. Yeah, you see t-shirts and all that stuff, but I have all of this stuff. KOG brand. I have Say It With Your Strings. I have my logo, the silhouette stuff, the Jermaine Morgan TV stuff. If you want to purchase any of that stuff, you can find it at my store. And I encourage you guys to click that link if you want to support that channel, grab some gear, show your stuff. You want to take a picture of your gear when you get it, send it to me. I'll repost it on my social media outlets. If you want to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, it's JMorganBase, at JMorganBase, JMorganBase. If you want my website, JermaineMorgan.net, you can follow me there. But anyway, y'all, I thank you for being here today. I got to run. I had a lot of fun. If you missed me playing and you jumped on late, jump back to the beginning of the video. That's some I actually played on this video. So again, thank y'all for rocking with me today and hanging out with me today. And remember, if you're bored, if you are frustrated, if all these different things are an issue for you, try something new. Try something different. Keep yourself motivated, keep yourself encouraged, and keep yourself inspired. Tiffany said, definitely want to get some of your music. Is this how music goes live? Well, my music, you're talking about my original music? If you're talking about my original music, I have songs on iTunes, Amazon, Tidal, wherever y'all buy music at online. It's all online. I have several albums. Life, The Journey Continues is my first album. I actually have a vocal project. I'm Not Afraid is the vocal EP. Grooves and Ideas is another instrumental record. And I have several singles out as well. So look Jermaine Morgan, and yeah, Not Afraid, yep. Look up Jermaine Morgan and the Jermaine Morgan Band, and you should find all my music. And also, when you look up Jermaine Morgan, you should find stuff that I played on for other artists as well. Not all of it, but stuff that I was featured on as an artist. Several records I played on, I can't even remember. You have to find that stuff on my website. You've always got my attention, brother, sounding tight as usual. I appreciate that, Wayne. I really, really appreciate that. So again, guys, thank y'all. Exactly. I'm going to get a good old call, and y'all going to get bumped off of here anyways. So I'm out. Thank y'all so much for rocking with me today. Y'all have a blessed day. I'm out here. Peace.